spent almost the past 3 years balancing side hustles with my 9 to 5. So I feel like I've got some tips to help you guys out if you're trying to balance your full-time, steady paycheck gig with the side hustles that you maybe want to convert into your full-time income in the future. So let's get into it. All right, you guys, tip number 1 is to automate the absolute out of your life. I'm serious. There's so many tools and cool technologies these days that there is no reason you shouldn't be using technology to help you out. And there's so many cool things that you can do to, like I said, automate things so that they're done for you instead of you having to take the time to do them. You can manage multiple projects using systems like Asana or Monday.com. There are free versions of both of these systems that will help you kind of keep track of all the different things. And this is something that I feel like is really helpful because when you want to balance your work tasks and also your side hustle tasks, it can be difficult if everything is kind of piecemeal, all in different systems. Having a private system that you just subscribe to for yourself where you can input all of these things is really helpful. You can also automate things like if you have a side hustle where you need to post on social media, you can schedule it all on once using a program like later.com and get it all to auto schedule. For instance, we also use HubSpot at my job to automate our social schedules so that we're not manually posting. Same if you've got emails, you can automate emails to go out once a week for your side hustle or within your 9 to 5 or whatever it is. There's just so many automation tools and you would be very surprised what you can automate for yourself using tools like this. And I feel like sometimes we forget that there are other not necessarily technology related ways you can automate yourself as well. So for instance, if you have a really hard time getting in good meals because you're not the best in the kitchen, or you have a hard time, putting things together, or you don't have like the time to devote to cooking, using something like HelloFresh that delivers meals that you can cook in under 30 minutes is a good idea. You can also use different meal companies that deliver like already made food that is like you can heat up in the microwave or the oven and actually has like good nutrients and macros. So there are lots of things you can do to just automate certain pieces of your life to free up your time to do things that are important for your job and for your side hustle. Tip number 2 is embrace AI. You guys, AI is not going away anytime soon, and it's only going to continue getting better and better. And you can use AI like ChatGPT to do so much for you, whether it's drafting up emails, captioning social posts, coming up with YouTube scripts. Then use it to your advantage. You can even have it write meal plans for you and then make a grocery list based off of that meal plan. You can have ChatGPT do so much for you. So I highly recommend using it. And also I've used it a couple of times to see how it would schedule my day. I input all of the tasks that I need to get done, and then I have it outline what my day should look like and how it thinks I can be the most productive. And sometimes it's actually pretty helpful. So definitely embrace AI, check it out, use it, get creative with what you ask it to do, and you'd be really surprised with the results you can get. All right, tip number 3 is to have both a macro and micro to-do list. This is something that I've been doing for a little while just because it helps me balance all of the different things that I have for all of my different projects. And so basically I have my weekly planner, which I want to do a whole separate video on how I do this. But I have a planner, and inside my planner I have a week-long layout, and I kind of fill that in with tasks. Whether if there's like a due date for, let's say, Thursday, I make sure I put that task that it's due on Thursday. If I need to make sure a video needs to be scheduled and up by Monday, then on Sunday I'll put a reminder to make sure that video is scheduled and ready to upload on Monday. Those kinds of things. But then I also just fill in miscellaneous tasks here and there. So for instance, I need to get like 4 or 5 pairs of ears done for my Etsy shop. I make Minnie ears, link in description if you are interested. But I needed to get 4 or 5 pairs of ears done. So instead of putting like, okay, on day 1, I'm going to do all the headbands. On day 2, I'm gonna sew the ears. On day 3, I didn't do that. I just put Chewbacca ears. And when I have time in my schedule on my micro to-do list, which we'll get into a second, I slot that in to make sure it gets done. So The macro to-do list is a week bird's eye view of everything that you need to get done that week. Okay, now every day I do a micro to-do list where I look at all the things throughout the week. Let's say it's Tuesday, because today is actually Tuesday. Let's say it's Tuesday and there are some things that are on the Monday column that I slotted in on my weekly to-do that I didn't get done. That means that on Tuesday, when I'm putting together my micro to-do list, which I do basically time slot by time slot, I'll put, okay, I need to make sure I send out that thank you email. So at 8 a.m. to 8:30, because I think it'll take me 30 minutes to draft and send out, I'll put 8 a.m. to 8:30, draft and send welcome letter or email. And then from 9:30 to 10, or what did I say, 8:30 to 9, I'll put eat breakfast and go on a walk. And I just slot it in time by time. And sometimes I get pretty granular. If I think something's gonna take me 15 minutes, I only slot 15 minutes for that. And it just helps me to really feel like I have a good action plan for the day, and that also I'm crossing things off on my weekly to-do. And something about being able to see the big picture of the weekly and then filter it into like the small what I need to get done today is super helpful to just see the overall like progress of how I'm doing over the week. And it helps me keep track of bigger projects that I'm breaking down day by day into smaller bite-sized chunks. I hope that made sense. Like I said, I'm gonna do a whole nother video on this, so make sure you subscribe if that's something that you wanna see, so that you can, you know, make sure the algorithm is like, hey, Holly has a new video whenever that comes out. So subscribe, thanks. Okay, moving on. Point number 4 is not for everybody, and that's okay. And this is, I don't structure my days from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm going to work on my 9 to 5, because that doesn't always work for where my brain is at. Sometimes I have more housekeeping type work, like looking at the budget and answering emails and stuff like that, that's kind of easy and mindless. And so I slot in some of my creative projects throughout the day to make my day just flow a little bit better. So for instance, my day might be, if I wake up and I go to the gym, I come back home, and let's say I work on my 9 to 5 for like 2 hours, maybe I'll take a 30-minute break to get away from the computer and I'll work on ears for a few minutes. Then maybe I make lunch and get back to work for a couple more hours, break it up, come film a video, take it back to work. So it's just, again, some people can't do this just because of the nature of their jobs, but I'm in marketing, so I need to make sure that my work gets done. I'm online and available for people that need me, and that I'm online when I have a meeting, obviously. But outside of that, my day is really for me to create, and it's really, really helpful to kind of weave things in, and that makes it so much easier, so that if I have a really long day with like 9 to 5 work related stuff, I'm not getting to the end of the day at 5 p.m. and I'm exhausted and have no energy to work on my side hustles, because sometimes that's not the case. It's just like, you know, sometimes it's hard after a whole day of work. So instead, let's say if I just need to respond to some emails, I'll save that for the end of the day, because that's an easy task. I can just sit on my couch, have a movie on in the background, and get done. Or let's say I need to draft up some blogs or edit some blogs. That's a pretty easy task that I can just comfortably sit on my couch and get done. So that might be something that I do from 7 to 8 p.m. Yes, I'm technically working after hours, but the time evens out, if that makes sense. All right, you guys, point number 5 is that sleep is not for the week, okay? I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite here for a second, because I can be known to sacrifice sleep for the sake of my job or my side hustles, and I'm aware of that. However, don't make too much of a habit about it. I feel like a lot of folks that are, you know, big, you know, hustle culture contributors can sometimes say, well, I stayed up until 3 a.m. and woke up at 6 a.m. for 3 years of my life building my side hustle. And like, great, but like, you're probably gonna die sooner because you did. So like, maybe don't. not to like scare you guys, but like sleep is really important. And if you're constantly sacrificing sleep, your work in your 9 to 5 as well as your side hustles is going to suffer. And that's not fair to your employer that you're turning in poorer work because you're doing your side hustle and therefore not sleeping and therefore your work is crappy. But it's also not fair to you because it's unhealthy. And 3, it's not fair to the progress of your side hustles because the work you turn into yourself for your side hustles is also probably either not going to be as good or you're not going to be as efficient doing it. So I don't care what anyone says. Don't sacrifice sleep to get more work done on the side hustle. And sorry, you're good. You laughing at me?
I sneeze.
Oh, bless you. I will say that I do pull all-nighters sometimes, which I know is bad, but I don't pull them out of like the need to get stuff done. I pull them out of the fact that I have very bad insomnia. Sometimes I cannot turn off my brain because I've got too many creative ideas flowing. So instead of laying in bed thinking about them and just being sad that I'm not working on them, I just get up and go work on them. So yeah, I know I'm probably sounding a little bit like a hypocrite, but like just don't sacrifice too much sleep for your side hustles. And when you do only do it on occasion, okay? Cool. We good? Okay. All right, tip number 7 is not so much of a tip as like a reminder, and that is your 9 to 5 comes first. I know that's really hard sometimes, and it's very hard for me sometimes. I'm very passionate about my side hustles. I really enjoy doing the work, but when you have deadlines to hit and meetings to attend and that kind of thing, unfortunately, like, your employer is paying you to show up and do a good job, and that is your obligation, to show up and to do a good job. So if your side hustles are impacting your work at your 9 to 5, it takes a really good, honest look in the mirror to see how you can fix that. I know I've had some days where it's been very, very difficult to focus on regular work because I'm excited about a side hustle project, but I've got a deadline to hit, so I have to suck down that energy and put it towards my regular job, because that's just the sacrifice you have to make when you are getting a steady paycheck from someone. And these people are paying you, like I said, and they're paying you every couple weeks to do a good job. So make sure that you just don't lose sight of that. And again, hopefully you can build up your side hustles while working a full-time job and eventually replace your full-time job income. But while you're working that full-time job, you just got to show up and do a good job. There's no way around it. All right, tip number 7, which is our last tip and very generic, is get a giant whiteboard. It is very helpful. Do I use it all of the time? No. But when I'm overwhelmed with big projects going on at work, big projects going on in side hustle life things happening here and there, something about taking a minute and like calming down, mapping everything out I need to do on the whiteboard and being able to stand back and see the game plan. I'm envisioning it. It's actually right here, but I'm envisioning it, is very helpful, like extraordinarily so. And so I know it's a little bit of an investment, obviously, but I will link the one that I use. It is an affiliate link, so if you hate me, don't click it. The one that I have, oh my gosh, I can't talk already. I'll leave the one that I have below so you guys can get it. It is huge and it is super helpful because I can put like 9 to 5, big projects, all the little tasks that I need to do. Side hustle 1, big projects, all the little tasks that I need to do. Side hustle number 2, big tasks, you know what I mean? And I can put dates and it's just really helpful sometimes. Like I said, I don't use it every day, but every few weeks or months when I'm like, I have a lot of different projects going on, both for side hustles and for my regular 9 to 5, it is good to just step back, write it all out, see it all, and like know the path forward, if that makes sense. So I hope that's helpful, and I hope you guys enjoy the whiteboard below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a like. I would really appreciate it. Also subscribe if you want more content like this. I feel like I've been doing and am interested in doing a little bit more like advice and productivity and whatever content, just because it's what I've been consuming a lot of recently and it's like on my mind. So if you guys enjoy this, definitely let me know in the comments below so I can do more videos on topics like this. And other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.